Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Art of MMA. I'm your host, Mike Ginn. Of course, joining me as always, my co-host. I'm talking about the mechanic, Brandon Catino. Brandon, what's up, buddy?
Hey, man. Good to be with you on a Wednesday.
Absolutely. A lot of fight action last weekend with PFL and Bellator back in action this week as well as UFC. So we got a lot to talk about. Of course, the Rant is back this week. We're going to be talking about Conor McGregor. Going to get into some news. Got quite a few little news tidbits to talk about. But, of course, this show, part of the Fighters First Network, exclusively part of the Fighters First Network, FightersFirst.shop. You can get all of our merch. I got the Bruce Lee shirt on. Brandon's got the Art of MMA logo tee on. You can get a lot of our shirts in both canvas and vintage style. So plenty of options on there. Always rolling out new shirts as well. Check the splash on the screen. Check out FightersFirst.shop. You got our show, Cage My IQ, and I'm working on bringing on some new shows, as well as Unfiltered, which we talked about, which will be coming out later this month with at least a couple great interviews. So I'm really looking forward and excited about that. But we are here to talk about Art of MMA. We are here to talk about everything that happened. Brandon, you ready to get on with this show?
Yes, sir.
All right. Even though we could be talking about a lot of Giants news too, because there's a lot of stuff going on with that. But we know you guys don't want us to talk about it. So. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about the rants. All right. I don't know how Brandon's going to react to this week's rant because he knows I'm a Conor McGregor fan. And I love Conor McGregor. I think he's great for the sport. And honestly, even though I know Brandon has a lot of disparaging things, I think, sadly, I think he thinks he's great for the sport too because Conor brings more pay-per-view buys. He puts more money in the fighters' pockets. At the end of the day, Brandon, what are you?
Prize fighter.
You're a prize fighter. You paid to fight. If you might, like, I know the MMA purists all hate Conor McGregor. They're like, oh, he's disparaging the sport. He's making us look bad. I haven't heard too many fighters really say too much bad about Conor because they know at the end of the day, they're getting paid because Conor's on that card. And they know that those pay-per-view buys, no matter what crazy antics he does, are going to drum up business. Now, from the purist standpoint, two-time champion, never defended either belt. He has done more running of his mouth the last few years than he has won fights. And I think we all know a lot of it's part of Conor's like persona, right, Brandon? Like we know it's like he's selling himself. But then we've also seen incidents where he punched the old man in the bar, right? Where he threw the dolly through the window of the bus, famously when he was after Khabib. When Khabib and his crew ran up on his boy Artem Lobov, and he came to the running to the defense. But at the end of the day, I think everybody still kind of thought, including myself, that everything Conor's doing is for promotion. It's straight up to promote his fights. Even talking with a broken leg after the Poirier fight, Conor was thinking about the next fight. I don't think he was thinking clearly. I've said as much. I don't think anybody should have interviewed a guy who had a broken leg sitting on the canvas. But he was thinking about, how am I going to save my name and get back to the next fight? But this last week, I can't believe I'm saying this. I think Conor has officially, if it hasn't happened before, I think he's officially lost his goddamn mind. Conor has not only – so let's start the week off, right? Conor's been going back and forth talking about, what he's going to do when he gets back to full strength and so on and so forth, right? And I'm going to slide a little bit back so I can sound better on the microphone. Let my camera readjust for a second. Of course, then, DC, Daniel Cormier is more of almost like more of a journalist than a fighter these days. Obviously, he's retired. Talking on ESPN for a living, made a couple comments about Conor, not really disparaging, just kind of saying that he's like at the back of the line basically now. And then, of course, you know how Conor does. If you say his name in a light that's not like you're the greatest of all time, he comes out fire and brimstone. So he comes out, talks about how DC might have had a couple too many drinks or been drunk on the air for a show, and just badmouths him. DC, for his part, kind of takes the high road. He just like, I'm not even going to engage with you. You're probably drunk tweeting right now. You'll delete your tweet, blah, blah, blah. Then we get involved with Michael Bisping. Michael Bisping, of course, comes to his colleague's aid, badmouths Conor. Not really badmouths him, but basically says that if DC wanted to with one hand, he would just beat the crap out of Conor. Of course, Conor then comes back at Bisping, talks about how he shouldn't have fought his last fight, how he makes money off every time Bisping fights. He's, bad-mouthing Bisping. Bisping comes back. No, you don't make anything off of any time I fight, ever. And at the end of the day, Bisping actually even still, I hope you heal well from your leg and get back to doing what you love. It's amazing to me how many different shades we see of Conor McGregor. We have the let me talk shit and promote up till the Jose Aldo fight, and then afterwards he's respectful, right? You have the back and forth war with Nate Diaz, but they seem to get a mutual respect, and then as the years go on, now they hate each other again. Dustin and him had really bad blood the first fight. Second fight, they were like buddy. Third fight, back to bad blood, to even more extremes where he's talking about his wife. He's talking about everything. And all I can think about is throughout all this, and I don't know if it's CTE. I hate to throw that word out with fighters, especially with everything that's happened in the NFL. And maybe it's just the fact that Conor hasn't been successful, except for that Cerrone fight, in like the last 4 years. He hasn't really been successful in the cage. Hasn't been successful in the boxing ring. He's been planning to do all these great events that haven't really worked out for him. And then Conor comes out and says, I'm going to walk right into a title shot when I come back from my injury. Now, there's two schools of thought on that. One, if Dustin Poirier is the champ by the time he comes back, as much as the world hates it, I wouldn't be surprised. But if he's talking like he's talking about going against Usman, there's no way in hell that would happen. There's too many people in line right now. Though Usman has been known to take a money fight over the contender fight with Masvidal and now Covington again before he fought Edwards, before he fought a bunch of other people. So who knows? But Usman would beat the fuck out of Conor, and I love Conor. But that's not a fight he wants, a guy who can take him down and strike with him. That's not a fight Conor wants. Conor's definitely a smaller 170. I saw somebody throw out Jose Aldo as a name. I think it was even Bisping, how he needs to go to a lower fight. And I'm like, there's no way Conor would ever cut to 145 again. That's not. I don't know how he cuts to 155 at this point because he's put on so much like muscle trying to build. And for Conor's sake, he's always in shape. He's working out now with a broken leg. Famously, too, because he's posting the pictures. He's like, look at me. Brandon, I'll get your thoughts. I just got to think, with everything that's going on this week, he's lost his mind. And I think the level between crazy and promotion, I think crazy has officially passed the promotion side, because I don't think he knows what he's saying. Like when he's deleting tweets and all this other stuff, he knows when he went too far. But he's also got this bravado, right? And I'm not going to say it's an Irish thing. I know Irish people tend to get fired up and have a lot of especially the men have a lot of manliness and they're willing to fight anybody. And I respect that actually. But as ego, I think it's more ego than bravado. And he doesn't back down. When somebody attacks him, he comes right back instead of just saying I was wrong, right? You've never heard Conor say I was wrong. So give me your 2 cents on it, and then we'll pop on over to some other segments.
All publicity is good publicity. That's all it is, man. He puts something out, people react to it. Look at us now. We're talking about it. Why? Because it's Conor McGregor, like you said. He, like I said, he's the money fight. Like I told you, he's box office. So I'm saying we're talking about everything. You just put out a layout of what the man did the whole entire week. That's how much you were paying attention to what Conor McGregor's doing. And we're talking about it on our show. So you're giving him what he wants. People are going to talk about it. Like you said, man, he's going to come back. Dude, like the whole thing with Usman, there are betting odds already for that fight. That fight's not even scheduled to happen, but people are already putting betting odds out there. So which means, like you're saying, you're right. This, when he comes back, he could get a title fight with Usman. Because maybe by that time, Usman could have already fought Covington, Edwards, and then boom, he needs somebody else. Boom, there's Conor McGregor. And like you said, and like I mean, I like how you tried to put it on Usman about Usman taking money fights and things like that. But yo, gotta remember, who does Dana White love? He loves himself some Conor McGregor. He likes to give Conor McGregor what he wants. So I mean, Usman might not want to fight, but Dana White might want to fight.
I think Usman does want to fight.
You know what I'm saying? I'm saying the owners of the UFC want to fight because they still owe money from buying it years ago. You know, for the 2.4 billion or 4.2 billion, however much it was. But they're still trying to catch up with that. So, I mean, like you said, man, you know, he wants the publicity. Everybody's giving it to him. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if what he says is true. He comes back out. I'm saying he could get a title fight right off the bat.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I agree with all that. I think Usman does want to fight. Honestly, he's wanted to fight for a couple of years because he wants that easy payday.
Well, I mean, it wasn't that. I mean, what it was too was that Conor McGregor was talking a lot of smack. Because I remember because they would be in the same room, and then that's when Conor McGregor would be all quiet. And then he would go post something on social media, and then that's when Usman would be like, "Wait, man, I just saw you. You were real quiet. I see you in person. You don't say anything. But then we're far away. That's when you want to run your mouth on social media. So I mean, like I said, man, dude, McGregor always has something coming. Always has a backup plan because even still, man, he can get Usman at 170. He still got his thing with Dustin Poirier. But also, too, you guys still forget him and RDA, they still got a thing going. He still has a thing with Nate Diaz. You know, so I mean, my man comes back. My man has 4 potential fights. 4 potential fights. 2 of them could be a title fight. You know? So I mean, he just working it. People are talking about it. Either way, Conor McGregor's gonna be all right. I don't think it's a mental breakdown or anything like that. My man is just putting the seeds out, and people are just and everybody's just eating it.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. It's the same thing to me, like with like Dustin and Nate Diaz, right? Like Dustin could have a title fight the moment he wants it. Instead, him and Nate Diaz are online negotiating a fight for, I think the latest rumor was like 170. Like, and they both pretty much have agreed to the fight. So are we even going to see like Poirier versus Oliveira this year? Like, Dustin's after the payday. Usman obviously calling out the people he's called out already with Masvidal and now Covington for a second fight. It's shutting people up, but it's also the paydays because he knows who's going to get paid. And I think a lot of these fighters are starting to realize, you know, their window to make money is, 10, 15 years at max. For a lot of these guys, not even that long. We just saw a couple fighters get cut today from the UFC or yesterday. So you never know. And I think these guys are just maximizing their time. Plus somebody could get hurt. It's a very dangerous game, obviously. So yeah, I do agree with the promotion, but I think there's something that I think that screw that was kind of loose in Conor's brain, I think it kind of fell out. I think someone needs to put it back in. Just tighten it just a little bit to reel him back in and make it promotion more than just crazy talk. All right, Brandon, let's hop into the news real quick, and then we'll talk about some fight results. All right, we finally got a date. Yoel Romero was supposed to make his debut against Rumble Johnson. We all wanted that fight. Didn't happen because obviously Romero had some issues. I think it was more visa issues than anything, trying to get licensed and everything in for that fight. So we will get him on September 18th. He's going to be fighting Mr. Wonderful, Phil Davis. Phil Davis coming off the loss to Nemkov, obviously, so he's out of the tournament as well, the Grand Prix. So Romero Davis can go ahead and go at it while the Grand Prix continues on in October. And we'll see what happens. Maybe if Romero wins, maybe he'll be an alternate in case somebody gets hurt or something like that. But Romero officially making his Bellator debut on September 18th. Over in the UFC, Kevin Lee has an opponent finally. A couple times they tried to match him up with Sean Brady. Things happen. I think Kevin Lee got sick or hurt, and then Sean Brady has a foot infection now, so his fight that got canceled again. Kevin Lee didn't want to go back to scratch, so he wanted to fight right away. He's getting Daniel Rodriguez in a week over at on August 28th at UFC Vegas 35. Holly Holm just got inducted. Congratulations to Holly. Got inducted to the New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame. It was supposed to happen a year ago, but with COVID and the pandemic and everything. And yeah, Brandon, I don't care about saying the word anymore. It happens, whatever. She's finally got inducted on Monday night. So congratulations, Holly. And then speaking of crossovers, how about that for a segue, Brandon? Clarissa Shields, she's going to be making her return against Abigail Montez on October 27th. The reason that's important is October 27th is a big night for PFL. That's the night in Hollywood, Florida at the Seminole Hard Rock. They're going to hold all of their finals. That's going to have $6 million total on the line for all their champions, which, of course, will segue into what we're talking about a little bit later with the cards. One is back in action with their Empower event that got postponed. Speaking of women's fighters, that event is now on. It's going to feature a strawweight title fight. Give me 1 second. I'll pull up the people fighting for it. It's going to be Jiang versus defending against Nicolini. And then they're going to have their atomweight Grand Prix. The ironic thing about that is one of the names in the Grand Prix was eliminated before because she lost to B. Now Rita Pragat is back in the tournament. So she got her win, so they put her back in. And ironically, B's on the card, but she's not in that tournament, even though she's the one that beat her. So I think that's a little kind of BS, but it is what it is. They do what they want to do with their cards. And then lastly, on a sad note, I want to pass on my condolences. Saul Solis passed away, Metro Fight Club in Houston, Texas. For the casual fan, you might remember him from The Ultimate Fighter. He was part of Team Punishment for Tito Ortiz on a couple different Ultimate Fighters. If you're a fan of Art of MMA, he was one of the trainers to help with Kevin Randleman. Obviously, we have our monster Kevin Randleman legendary shirt. Big fan of his. He also helped train Rico Rodriguez, Mark Kerr, Mark Hamill, Mark Coleman, Wes Sims, Eads Edwards, just to name a few UFC fighters. So our condolences to the family of Saul Solis. God bless. And yeah, that is the news. Got through that pretty quickly, didn't I, Brandon?
Yep.
Oh, all right. You ready to talk about some fight results, Brandon?
Yes, sir.
All right. This is the part Brandon loves because usually he can pick on me for my fight picks. But Brandon, we both went 3-2 last week, buddy. You're still the lead dog.
I should have went 4-1, but it is what it is.
I mean, I could say that too. I mean, I didn't know Stots was going to come out and shock the world. I thought I was picking the easy pick. I got screwed on that one. Stots look great, but we'll talk about that all in a second. Update on the leaderboard. Brandon is still in the lead, so there's not much update. We both went 3-2 last week. Hopefully I can bounce back. We got 3 cards, 7 picks. This is the week, Brandon. I make my comeback.
Okay.
You're gonna go 0-7. I'm gonna go 7-0, except for when we pick the same fight and it just doesn't go anywhere. Anyway. All right, Brandon. PFL 7. Part of the 2021 season, beginning of the PFL playoffs. Rory MacDonald going against Ray Cooper. This fight set up that side of the final for the welterweight bracket. Tell me what happened in that fight.
I mean, Josh, what happened was what I kind of had a feeling would happen because, like I said, that's why I was kind of leaning towards Ray Cooper, but I decided to go Rory MacDonald because I just thought Rory was just going to pull it off. But basically, like I said, we all thought that Rory MacDonald would want to have this fight on the ground. Well, Ray Cooper beat him to him. Ray Cooper really took him to the ground. Rory tried to wrestle him. Ray Cooper would sprawl, stop him, and then he would take him down, and then he would just keep him there, and he would just work the body. And then standing up, like I told you, man, I just saw Ray Cooper just being like a Robbie Lawler. He's a tougher, he's tougher than Rory. He comes to fight, with that Hawaiian, Samoan blood in him, and he was just there to bang. And Rory MacDonald didn't want any part of that. Hence why he would go for the takedown. It wouldn't be there. Then Ray Cooper would just take him down, lay on him, work the body, throw some punches, ground and pound. And it was just really an easy fight to call for the judges. Ray Cooper did his thing. He's in the final, and he's getting the fight that he's been hunting for like 2 years.
Yeah, it was just dominant. I mean, Ray Cooper wasn't really threatened ever at all. I thought Roy's size might give him trouble. I was kind of rooting for Ray Cooper too. Ray Cooper third also, but little play on words, no pun intended. But I didn't see this coming. I did not see. I'd lie to you if I told you I thought Ray Cooper would control him the way he did.
Yeah,
very impressive from Ray Cooper's side. Of course, next we can kind of segue into the co-main event while we're talking about it. Magomedov Karamov got the win over a late replacement in Sai. 30-27. It wasn't really competitive. Him and Cooper will now fight in that bracket of the finals, I believe, or is it the finals? It's the semifinals.
It is the final.
It is the final.
Yep.
Okay, so they're now in the final. I had to pull up the brackets for a second. Sorry, people at home. I am professional, I swear. But they had to pull up. They'll be fighting in the finals, and like you said, it's a rematch. Cooper lost to him back in 2018.
Yeah.
So he's been looking to get that loss off his record, or revenge if you want. So that's going to be a good matchup. We definitely know what's next for both of them because they got each other. Not really much to talk about the Magomed Kamirov fight because it was just one-sided. Like Sai really was never in the fight. Everywhere the fight went, Magomed controlled. So, you got two both main event cards main cards that both went main fights that went 30-27. So, not much drama there. Also on the card, I think both of us thought Clay Collard would probably beat Manfio. That didn't happen. Manfio came out and won and beat Clay Collard, so he's in the final for the lightweights.
Yeah, I don't know about that one because I still think I thought Clay Collard took that fight, but hey, I'm not a judge.
Well, I don't know if I would argue because I thought there was at least maybe even every round, but at least two of the rounds were very close. But all three judges saw 29-28. It wasn't even a split decision. It was a tough fight to score, but I mean, I thought Manfio did enough, especially when I watched like a little bit more of it back when I was rewatching the card the other day, for seeing a couple things I missed. So, I mean, shout out to Manfio. It was a good fight, no matter how you saw it, but Manfio's now in the finals. So, I mean, what more can you do, right?
Yep.
Speaking of which, his opponent, also on the card, I'm going to butcher his name and I apologize. Ratabov, I hope I said that right. He beat Martinez. A little bit more clean cut. I think Martinez won one of the rounds on one of the judges' scorecards, but not much to say there. Pretty much a 30-27 victory for Loic. Just butchering names all over the place. I apologize, fighters. I love you guys. I'm sorry. My bad. Gleison Tibau won again. Alban Mercer versus Horseshare. We talked about that fight last week. We thought it'd be a fun fight. That fight was all over the map. Like one judge had it 29-28, one 29-27, one 30-26.
Yep.
Real quick, what'd you think of that fight?
I shout outs, to Darryl Horcher, trying to come out and do his thing. But, I guess, like I said, man, sometimes, there are levels.
Yeah. Brett Cooper back on the main stage for a U.S. card. He's been fighting. He just hasn't been in the United States for a while. He got the knockout over Tyler Hill. So that's pretty much the names you kind of know. Lombardo had a nice TKO with some leg kicks also in round one against Bowen. So stuff to look at. But yeah, anything else you want to talk about this card before we move on, Brandon?
I mean, I'm ready. I'm ready for see what's next for the PFL this coming week, but we'll talk about that later, though.
Absolutely. We will talk about PFL in just a few minutes. But first, there was one more card last weekend. Bellator 264, Gegard Mousasi versus John Slater. Man.
Salter.
I'm sorry. Salter, yeah. I'm sorry.
Man, you are butchering names today.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody call the editing police. I'm not going to edit it. This is raw. This is how we give it to you. Also, it takes too long. I'm trying to get the show out. All right. Gegard Mousasi versus John Salter. Tell me what happened.
Hey, man, it's like I told you what was going to happen, man. I thought Mousasi was the better fighter all the way around. I mean, once really Salter couldn't take him to the ground, because that's really the only way that John Salter would be able to win would be to take Mousasi on the ground and control him there. But once he couldn't take it there, man, he was in trouble. And Mousasi kind of knew. Like, first round was a little bit slow. Salter did have his moments, but then boom, second round came on. Third round, finish, man. Mousasi he let those hands go, and Salter and Salter had nowhere to go.
I feel like this fight, it's not that John Salter wasn't deserving. He was like 18-4 or something like that coming into the fight.
Yep.
But I feel like this was a result of not having very many ready contenders for Mousasi, right? Austin Vanderfort's probably next. He's now the number one contender for him. Some people, Paige Van Zant's husband for the casual fan. He's been doing his thing for a while, 11-0. So he's definitely next, even if Mousasi couldn't remember his name during the press conference afterwards. But then, like, after that, the contenders get kind of weird. Johnny Eblin's coming up real quick. Fabian Edwards is kind of dropping off a little bit. As far as names you might know in that middleweight, unless you have a Michael Venom Page or somebody that goes up after he fights Lima or something like that, I don't see like a really like name fighter for Mousasi. I'm thinking Vanderfort's next. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I want to say that Vanderfort is next because, like I said, I mean, he was working commentary that night, but then also at the end of the fight, he was in the cage with him, so they kind of had a little face-off. So I think he is next, but I think he has an injury to his arm because I think he was wearing a brace on his right arm. I think it was his right arm. So he probably has to heal up, for that. So I mean, they're probably not fighting. Maybe either the end of the year, like December time, or they might be fighting early 2022. But I mean, it's one of those things where, like, man, these guys they have to start building up some contenders. They got to get some middleweights on the regional scene and start picking them up. That's really all what it is. Like saying, not every division where you have to go out and get big free agents, because to me, I don't think there are a lot of free agents, or should I say big free agents, out there. Like say middleweight to me is one of those divisions where there really isn't that much depth, because you even look at a PFL, they don't even have a middleweight division for their tournaments. So I think it's one of those things where Scott Coker and them, they got to scout the regional scene, see who's out there and pick it up. Like I know they have a deal with like Shamrock Fights and like Missouri, but I think, man, like saying all the fights that they do at Mohegan Sun, they need to look at CES, they need to look at CFFC, they need to look at Ring of Combat, and they need to start picking up guys up around here at middleweight. Yeah,
definitely. The welterweights and the Bellator are just, and we'll talk about just in a second the reason why I'm segueing to welterweights. The welterweight division in Bellator is way deeper than the middleweight division by far. Obviously, we have Lima and Page get ready to fight. Amosov's the champion. But after that, you got Jason Jackson and Gracie, Logan Storley, Paul Daly, if he fights at that weight or a catch weight or whatever, he's still technically Derek Anderson. And then the guy who was in the co-main event, which we'll talk about right now, Andrei Koreshkov, he just dominated Mousasi. What happened in that fight?
Told you, man, former Bellator champion, still one of the best in the world. Like I said, he was kind of going through a skid. He was kind of going win, loss. But this time he was able to have 2 wins back to back. I mean, even just too much, man. Like I said earlier, man, with the Darrell Horcher fight, man, there are levels to this, and that's what that is what Koreshkov showed, man. He was like, "Yo, I'm a former champ. You're not on my level yet," and he just put it on him.
Yeah, it wasn't even competitive. Like, there's another fight that we just looked at. We're like, damn, like there's just definitely levels. Like, there's this guy, and then the other guy who's good, a good fighter, but he's not in that level. Like, it's crazy. It's just another fight, one competitive. He jumped up to number 8 in the rankings now, so it'll be interesting to see who he matches up with. I could see him fighting a Derek Anderson, a Logan Storley, or if they want to kind of really test him to see if he's back on his rhythm and moving up fast, maybe Gracie or somebody like that. I don't really know what Bellator has announced coming up soon because they've been kind of secretive on some of their cards coming up. I think they're still putting a lot of stuff together. I know they're still putting together the September 18th event with Davis and Romero. I know they're still putting together some of that Grand Prix stuff in October with the light heavyweight Grand Prix. So we'll see what happens with that and see where some of these guys fall. But Koreshkov definitely has his name back in the mix off a dominant win like that. My pick of the night did not go my way. I thought there was nobody that could even touch Magomedov in that bantamweight. I thought he was going to be knocking on Sergio Pettis' door. I thought there was just so much going on. But Rufian Stots came out and just outworked him in every position. Like, every time Magomed would get like a takedown, Stots would find his way to get on top. Every time he'd get like on the feet, Stots was getting the best of him. There was a couple moments for Magomedov, but very far few in between because Stots seemed to just, I think the easiest way is he just seemed to outwork him. Like he just outworked him. Talent, I think they might have been kind of even, but I thought Magomedov was kind of lazy in some of his like attempts to like take him down because he was so used to dominating all these guys in these positions, especially at that weight class. And Stots wasn't a pushover. Stots was clearly stronger than he was and was able to outmuscle him and outwork him in a lot of positions. So shout out to Stots. He's clearly going to move up the rankings just a little bit, or maybe even a lot. I mean, he's number 2 now, actually. I didn't know he jumped that far. Number 2, they were 2 and 4, so they flipped spots. Patchy Mix, of course, is in the mix. Archuleta and Pettis, the champion. And then another guy I want you guys to keep an eye on, we talked about it before, Leandro Higo. He's right there in that bantamweight division as well. Davion Franco with the big knockout over Everett Cummings. Bastev got the win over Gorder. You want to talk about your fight real quick? Sorensen, the vet, over Samad. It was a split decision. It kind of went back and forth. What happened?
Yeah, it was a split decision. I still think that my pick won, but I can understand why.
Being a homer, Brandon.
I can understand. No, like really what went down to me was really that just Sorensen was just more active. That's really what it is. Like she just got going. Samad was kind of just relaxed, waiting, maybe only throwing one shot here and there. But Sorensen was just going. She was just going. 2, 3, 4, 5 punches, adding some kicks. That really was the tell of the fight. Like I just think that Sorensen, she definitely won the second round. First round, I guess you can go either way, but I still thought Samad took the first round. And in that last round, saying like, yes, you're right. Samad was just kind of hanging out in Sorensen's guard. She really wasn't doing much damage, but she was throwing some strikes here and there. But again, it was just that I think Sorensen was just more active in this fight. And that's why she got her hand raised.
I don't disagree with the decision. But that was another split decision. I wouldn't have been like arguing if it went either way. I thought Sorensen won the fight. Like you said, just because she was more active. Also on the card, Glossner got the win over Ruiz by decision, and then McNeil got the TK over Mendoza in the third round. Actually, a pretty nice finish. He got those strikes in and finished them off in the third round. Like they say, never leave it in the hands of the judges. And McNeil was like, nope, this is over. So that is that. That is our recap for the week. Brandon, you ready to make some picks? Ready for me to make that move back up the food chain?
Oh, yeah. Let me know. I'm ready.
All right. So we're going to start off PFL 8. We're talking about the ladies first and foremost, as well as the heavyweights on this side of the playoffs. And we're talking about Brandon's absolute favorite fighter, Kayla Harrison. She's going against Jenna Fabian, part of kickboxing. What's it called? City Kickboxing in New Zealand, part of that whole thing with Adesanya as well. Jenna Fabian is no pushover. Like some of these girls that Kayla's fought, you could see was like, all right, this is there. You keep talking about levels to this. Nobody was on Kayla's level. Fabian has a legit puncher's chance in this fight. She's got Muay Thai experience. She's got kickboxing experience. She boxed earlier this year. She, I think it like ended in the third round to like a clash of headbutts or something like that, and it was no contest. But Fabian's constantly competing. This is already like her 4th fight of the year if you count the boxing fight. So she's been very active. She's a taller woman. She's 6 foot, got that reach. But as Kayla says, The bigger they are, the harder they fall. I'm gonna let you go ahead and start on this one. Who you got in this one and why?
I mean, you know, man, the heart wants Jenna Fabian to just smash Kayla, but it's probably not gonna. I mean, it might happen, but I'm gonna do the safe pick. I'm gonna pull a Mike and go with the safe pick, and I'm gonna go with Kayla Harrison.
I thought I had a chance.
I'm gonna go with Kayla. Only reason is because, like I said, I think stand-up wise, I think Kayla would be dumb to stand up with her, really. But Kayla is known to try to be like, oh, she wants to show the world that she does have hands too, and she can knock people out. So I mean, that could be her downfall. But I think that, you know, her team at ATT, you know, Mike Brown, he's smart. He's gonna coach well. He's gonna say, hey, let's get in there, let's take her down, let's control, let's ground and pound, let's look for our submission. So I'm gonna go with Kayla Harrison. I mean, it could be a submission or it could be a decision.
Yeah, that's the only, you just mentioned the only thing that scares me in this fight for Kayla Harrison is if she kind of has a little bit, and I know Kayla doesn't like these comparisons, but she kind of has a little Ronda Rousey in her, right? Like you saw a lot later in Ronda's career when she'd start off the first couple rounds or first round, like trying to fight with people and strike with people, right? And then she would flip over and go for the armbar and go for end the fight. But the better Ronda got with her hands, the more confident she got, to the point where it was her downfall against fighters like Holly Holm and Amanda Nunes. But in this case, I don't think Mike Brown, who I think is a better coach than Ronda ever had, not going to throw no names out there. We know who we're talking about. But
head movement.
I think Mike Brown is one of the smartest and best coaches. You see him with Dustin Poirier. You see a lot of stuff he's done. I don't think he lets Kayla go out there and put herself in that bad situation. Kayla comes across the ring, uses a little bit of wrestling and some judo, and takes her down. This fight's over quick. If she stands with Fabian, she might get caught with her hands, with her legs, with anything. Like, this is a dangerous fight for Harrison. She hasn't fought somebody like this who can strike on this level and give her that kind of trouble. So I think Kayla will be smart. I think she will come in. I think she will take her down. And I think she will end this fight and try to play the safe route. But Kayla has been known to try to show off her evolving game. And she has gotten more confidence. And like you said, the striking and everything else. So let's see if it's bravado versus strategy. And that's going to be the downfall for one of these people, one of these opponents. I'm picking Kayla Harrison. I think she'll do the smart thing and take her down, because I don't think Fabian has any kind of ground game whatsoever. But I do think if she stands with Fabian, we could see an upset. That's the way I see it. But I'm picking Kayla Harrison. In the co-main event, we're talking about heavyweight favorite Bruno Capoloza going against Jamel Jones. Jamel hopped into the tournament at the last second, got the knockout, got into the playoffs. Capoloza's been finishing everybody. Who you got in this one?
Man, I'm going with the upset, baby. USA, man. Jamel Jones, CFFC vet. Going with it, man. I'm gonna go with that. He's gonna put them things on Bruno and probably get another stoppage.
Man, I had a tough time. I was thinking about taking an upset in this one too, just because I don't think he's really fought too many people with Jones' punching power. But his only loss recently was he got knocked out in 2018 to Yuri Prochazka, who's now a light heavyweight contender. Clearly a smaller fighter. Bruno's normally 205 guy, so I think Jones has the power edge. But the way Bruno has looked in this season has been fantastic. I think he's like run through just about everybody that they put in front of him. So I'm gonna pick Capoloza. Not really sure about that pick. So when Brandon clowns me next week, just know I wasn't sure about it. But I am going to pick Capoloza to do what he needs to do in that fight and get to the finals. Also in that card, you got Larissa Pachenko, probably the favorite to match up against Kayla Harrison. She's going to be going against Gordardo. And then also a lot of other heavyweights on the card, Caitlin Young as well. So definitely a card to check out. Real quick, since we have a couple seconds. You think Pachenko matches up with Harrison in the finals? You think Gordardo can stop her?
Yeah, no, I think Larissa is going to smash her way to the final, man. Like I said, like you talking about Bruno being on a tear this year. So is Larissa. She's been stopping everybody on her way. So I'm saying I think she's on a mission. I think she's like Ray Cooper. She wants that rematch with Kayla, and we'll see if she gets it.
And unofficially, Goldstoff versus Dealer. Who fights in the final in that one?
Which fight?
The other heavyweight final, semifinal. Goldstoff versus Dealer.
I'm probably gonna go with Goldstoff.
I think that's gonna be a close matchup as well. I think it's kind of messed up that Renan Ferreira's on that card because I feel like he got really screwed out of the playoffs this year with everything that happened with Fabricio Verdun.
Yeah.
I mean, you can argue whether he tapped or not, but the ref never saw a tap, and he finished Fabricio. You fight until the ref stops you from fighting. If Fabricio was dumb enough to be in the sport as long as he has to let go of a hold because he thought the guy tapped and the ref hadn't stopped it yet, then I'm sorry. That's on you. You fight till the ref stops it. Derek Lewis gets a lot of trash for throwing punches after a guy's knocked down, but until the ref stops it, anything can happen in a fight. And you saw the perfect example when Renan Ferreira just unloaded on Fabricio. So there is that. Anyway, August 19th, check out PFL 8. We'll find out who's going to be going to the finals for the women's featherweight as well as the men's heavyweight. All right, let's move our attention over to Bellator 265. Longtime heavyweight veteran Czech Kongo back in action going against Kharitonov. Also got an exciting matchup with Adam Borics and J.J. Wilson in the books for the co-main. But let's start off with the main event, Brandon. Czech Kongo going against Sergey. I said it right, too, and I'm going to butcher it. Kharitonov. Who you got in that one?
I'm going with the darkness, baby. Czech Kongo. Either by knees, hopefully not knees to the groin, but knees to the belly, and maybe get a stoppage in the second or third round.
Man, my problem with Sergey is it's either knockout or get knocked out. Both these guys are up there. Czech is now 46 and still doing it at the level he's doing at it. It's just defying time, kind of Randy Couture-like. I thought Czech was done a few years ago. Here he is still in main events. Sergey's 41. He's no spring chicken either. Czech lost that tough split decision against Tim Johnson. You could argue which way that one went. He had the eye poke situation against Ryan Bader. Man, this is hard for me to pick. I'm going to go ahead and pick Czech Kongo just because of his veteran leadership, his ability. I think he'll have a smarter strategy probably going into this. So I'll take Czech Kongo just because of his experience and the level he's been fighting at for the amount of years he's been fighting at UFC, Bellator, you name it. So I'll take Czech Kongo in that one. Over in the co-main event, we're talking about, I just mentioned it, Adam Borics, J.J. Wilson, two guys in the top 5, both trying to get a title shot coming up. Who you got in that one?
I'm going with Adam Borics, man. I mean, dude is 17-1, only has 1 L. Yes, I know J.J. Wilson is an exciting fighter. I think most of his W's usually come on the ground, but I just think I think Borics is going to be too much on the stand up for him, and he might catch him with one of his flying knees.
I mean, it's possible. JJ's got 2 straight knockouts too, so you got to be careful with that one. This is tough for me too because both of them are good, young, exciting fighters. I do look at the fact that the one fight Borics struggled was Darian Caldwell, and he lost on the ground. So I'm gonna go for the upset. I'm gonna pick J.J. Wilson in this one, not just to be different from you. I gotta make up some picks, but I think J.J. Wilson is going to get the win in this one. So we'll see what happens with that one. Very exciting. Both of them trying to get that matchup against AJ McKee sometime in the near future if AJ stays at 145 pounds, which is also another big question. Also on that card, real quick before we move on, you got Logan Storley, longtime Bellator guy, 11-1. He's fighting a tough matchup against Shiro at 8-2. You got Gallman action. You got against Billy Swanson, another up-and-comer. Keith Lee versus Lago. Aguiar versus Taylor Johnson. Mike Hamill versus Bryce Logan. You got Archie Colgan versus Sidney Simmons. Dwayne Johnson not The Rock, a different Dwayne Johnson, versus Devin Fisher, and then Schulfelder versus Kevin Childs. Any other fights you're looking to on that card?
Really, really kind of looking forward to the first fight on the main card, the Keith Lee fight. You know, not because I'm trying to bask in his glory, but just because you know, I'm looking to see how he reacts after his last fight.
Yeah, definitely against undefeated Lugo, so that should be a fun fight. I'm also kind of looking forward to that Billy Swanson Gong fight. I think it's going to be a fun fight too, also on the main card as well. All right, Brandon, you ready for the last card of the night? I'm talking about UFC on ESPN 29 or UFC Vegas 34, if you want to call it that. Jared Cannonier back in action against Kevin Gastelum. Both of them have been up and down. Both of them looking for some momentum as well. Who you got in this one?
I was kind of going back and forth on this one, but I'm gonna go with Kelvin Gastelum, man. I think I kind of want to say I feel like Jared Cannonier is kind of gonna be on that Uriah Hall tip, man, where it's like, yo, this is like his last chance to kind of get into title contention. I think he's 38 as well, but I think Kelvin Gastelum can strike, he can wrestle, really he can do it all. You know, hanging out at King's MMA, and I think Gastelum is just going to take this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. Gastelum is Cannonier's 37, Gastelum's 29. But the one strength that Cannonier has is his striking ability, and Kevin Gastelum has proven throughout his career that he can take a lot of damage and still keep coming forward. Both of them, their last fight was a loss to Robert Whittaker. So there's no shame in that for either guy. I see Kevin Gastelum getting on the ground, doing things to get the Cannonier that he's not used to. I see him roughing him up. I don't see the striking slowing down Gastelum. I think Gastelum will just keep coming, no matter how much damage he takes. And I think it'll be kind of one of those things where, you know, it'll probably go the distance, and I think Gastelum will do enough to get the decision in that fight, especially with the takedowns and other things. So we'll really get tested Cannonier's takedown defense in that one. In the co-main event, man, I'm not going to make up any ground on you if we keep picking the same picks, Brandon. I'm going to have to go first on this one. I can't take any chances.
All right.
Clay Guida in the co-main event against Mark Madsen. Guida's been fun, exciting throughout his whole career. Mark Madsen's an undefeated fighter. Mark O. Madsen, in case you're getting confused with other Mark Madsen. I find it hard to believe that Clay Guida wins this fight. I'm not saying it's impossible. He actually looked really good against Michael Johnson when we last saw him in February. He just was Clay Guida, right? Like he nonstop machine. He just moves. You hit him, he just keeps coming. Doesn't matter if he's bleeding. Doesn't matter if he's hurt. He just keeps on coming. And I don't think Mark Madsen's ever fought somebody on that level, but he is an Olympic champion. Like he hasn't fought MMA on that level, but he has clearly done it in the Olympics for Denmark. And I think he's just going to smother Clay Guida. I think he'll take him down. I think he'll just wrestle him and get the win that way. And I don't think it's going to be the exciting fight that Clay Guida kind of wants, but I think Mark Madsen's going to win that fight. What do you think?
I'm going opposite, man. I'm going to give you a chance to try to catch up with me. Yeah, I am going to go with the Carpa. You know, the man comes out with energy for days. Like I said, man, he looked real good in his last fight against Michael Johnson. Yeah, you know, so I'm gonna ride this Clay Guida train, man, until I see somebody beat him.
Well, I mean, he has a lot of losses before that Michael Johnson fight, so he did lose a couple in a row before that one to Bobby Green and Jim Miller, which, you know, no shame in that. Those are good losses if you have good losses. Also on the card, you got people like Chase Sherman, Parker Porter, Trevin Jones versus Kakramanov, and from Hell Pichel versus Austin Hubbard on the main card. What's your fight pick of the night?
You know me, man. I'm going with the ladies. Going to go with that women's bantamweight. I'm going to go with Bay Malecki versus Josane Nunes. I'm going with Malecki to get the W. I think she's going to be able to just control the fight and get that hand raised.
Trying to keep her undefeated. I don't know enough about either fighter, so I will take your word for that one. My fight pick is going to be Brandon Royval back in the action after he separated his shoulder against Brandon Moreno last year, which kind of like led to all Moreno's success, right? Because after Moreno won that fight because of the stoppage, then all of a sudden he's fighting Figueiredo, 2 classic fights, which is a whole other topic after what Figueiredo said about Moreno this week, calling him a PU, Anyway, I'm not going to get that kind of censorship on the show. But Brandon Royval was on a hot streak going into that fight and unfortunately dislocated his shoulder, separated his shoulder, depending on how you want to look at it. I'm not sure technically which one it was. And he was on a tear. And he's always been the underdog. He's always been that guy. And I thought Moreno got a little excited for winning the fight that he didn't really win, in my opinion. I think they need to run it back at some point. But obviously, Royval needs to win a couple fights to get up to that level and get to that championship, that level. Now, fighting another top contender like Pantoja is going to get you there. Now, Pantoja had a couple tough losses in his last 4 fights. Lost to Askarov, lost to Figueiredo. But he's coming off a win as well. So I'm picking Royval to get back on the winning train. I just love the way the kid fights. I think he can do it everywhere, on the feet, on the ground. I think he's a super exciting fight, and I think he's a very tough matchup if him and Moreno do get to run it back and both of them are healthy. I think that's an incredibly tough matchup. I can't say that Moreno caused the injury because the way it kind of popped out was just so weird. Normally, if an injury happens in a fight, you're like, well, the other fighter gets credit because he caused that injury. In this case, it was kind of a weird pop, so I don't really know what to say about that one. But I am definitely looking forward to that fight, the Pantoja versus Royval, and I got Royval in that fight. Also on the card, Saldana versus Lingo. Brian Kelleher is always a tough, fun fight. He's back in action against Pilarde. You talked about Malecki versus Nunes. William Knight versus Sharonot. Roberts versus Bahamades. And then Polanikov versus Brahma. Any other fights you're looking to on that card before we get out of here?
Well, I mean, I'm always down to see how Brian Boone Kelleher does. So I am looking forward to his fight.
I think it's funny he got back in the cage before Ricky Simone. Like Ricky Simone's coming in, taking fights on short notice, just beating everybody. And I haven't seen him in the cage since that fight. I'm like, where's Ricky? Get my boy Ricky back on the card. I love picking Ricky.
Man,
That's how I get my wins.
Hey, he was trying to get that Sean O'Malley fight,
Sean O'Malley. Before we get out of here, let's talk about that real quick. Sean O'Malley came out this week, and he's like, why would I take a top 15 fight when I get paid the same for taking opponents that aren't in the top 15 and it's less risk? He also said, why would he fight on a New York card that takes more money out of his taxes than a Las Vegas card if they don't need his star power? They already have star power. So I kind of respect Sean O'Malley for being honest. Because for real, why would he take a
prize fighter, bro? Prize fighter. See, he sees the money. He's thinking.
Yeah, I don't like Sean O'Malley, but I got to respect that because he's right. If you're going to get paid, you're going to put on a show. Why would you take a risk? Now they're trying to match him up with Frankie Edgar in New York because obviously Frankie being a local guy in Jersey, trying to make that headline fight. Why would Sean O'Malley take that fight? Yeah. Why would he take, first of all, I will say I think it's a horrible matchup for Frankie. He had trouble, obviously, against Sandhagen, who's a lot longer than him. O'Malley's a lot longer than Sandhagen. I think that's a bad matchup for Frankie Edgar. And I love Frankie. That's a bad matchup. I would much rather see O'Malley fight somebody a little bit weird, a little bit different, like a Dominic Cruz. I would rather him fight somebody maybe even as tall and lanky as him to give him problems and see how he matches up with that. Or the rematch against Chito Vera, right? That's something people want to see as well. And at this point, Vera's willing to do it because he wants the payday. I don't think that Frankie's a good matchup. I think Sean O'Malley would win that fight if it does come to fruition. But I can't hate on the dude. He's right. If he gets paid the same to fight and people are still calling for him to fight because they're excited by every time he steps in the cage and he's getting paid, I can't be mad at the dude. It's a prize fight. All right. Well, that's all our picks for today. As always, FightersFirst.shop. Get the gear, including the prize fighter shirt. Somebody said it looked like Kevin Owens on the shirt. It's not Kevin Owens, but it could be. I don't know. Go ahead and get the shirt. It's not Kevin Owens. I'm just kidding. Kevin, don't sue me. It's not you. But yeah, FightersFirst.shop. Go ahead and support the brand. Get some of our dope merchandise. Gonna put another shirt in the shop this week. Keep putting out new stuff all the time. Always some great stuff. If you have any questions, definitely leave a comment. I do want to announce this week. You'll see it. I'm going to split up the show a little bit. I'm going to put out the full episode, but I'm also going to break up the segments and put those into shorter versions for you guys as well, so you can get straight to the content. Might take me a little longer to get the segments out after the show's released. I'm going to put the full version out first. I'm not like DJ Vlad where you get like clip, 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 and then you get the full version. Now I'm going to put the full version out first, and then we'll go from there, and I'll definitely put the rant out. I don't know if I'm going to put back episode clips out. I don't know if I'm going to split those up, but I will split up this one, and we'll go from there on a weekly basis, start putting segments out so you guys can get to what you want and find it a little bit easier in the search results on YouTube. Like I said, leave a comment. I'm sorry the landscaping crew decided to come through at the end of the show, so I can hear that in the background. I don't know if you guys can. But leave a comment. Let us know what you like about the show, what you don't like. Like and subscribe, like Brandon always says. Brandon, we got any fight news yet?
Actually, yeah, man. I was gonna tell you after, but yeah, no. Fight's not happening now.
Oh, come on, man. Everybody keeps ducking Blade. You did one wrestling appearance, knocked somebody's head off. Now nobody wants to fight you, man. You need better representation.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm not trying to get into the kickboxing management game. That is above my pay grade. They'll be like, you want to match up against who? And I'll be like, who is that? Does he have a name? Are we getting paid? And my man ain't doing it. Get him paid. He's a prize fighter. All right. That's enough of that. We're going to get Brandon back in the ring soon enough because I know he's itching. He's got that itch going hard. He keeps trying to get all these fights. So somebody fight Brandon Coutinho. I dare you. Let him take your head off. Or come competitive. We respect everybody, but he's still going to take your head off. All right. For the mechanic, Brandon Coutinho, I'm Mike Ginn. This is Art of MMA. Of course, on Fighters First. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week. We're out.
Good shit. I know. I like it. Wow.